Hello, Internet. It's your boy, Marty K. Boyd, whatever you want to say, because my name has been mispronounced for many years now. It's been 34 years and counting, and it was nearly completely changed on my birth certificate because they thought it was misspelt and that my dad was illiterate or something. But he had spelt it correctly. It is M-A-A-T. So I'm once again having some late night thoughts, and unfortunately for you, you're watching it right now. Yes, this is happening. And I don't have a shirt on, and I'm not apologizing for that. Okay, so I've got some thoughts. Here we go. Let's just go with it. It's not hard to attract good people in your life, but it is easy to attract bad people in your life. Overly simplified, of course. Good and bad people. I mean, people that are not going to do you good to have around. You can attract people that are going to siphon off your energy, start suffocating you, depending on how you present yourself to the world and other people. One of the things that I have been thinking about is our programming. And just by the way, this isn't meant to be some weird, slightly weird, off-putting, vague New Age teaching. This is mainly common sense. This is mainly just musings of a mid-30-year-old man, and just facts. I'm just speaking straight facts to this camera. You can definitely just attract people into your world that are just no good for you. And you can go seeking people that are just gonna literally tear your life apart. And a lot of us are pretty ignorant and pretty blind to what we're doing. The, for lack of a better word, energy, projection, image that we're putting out to other people. Unfortunately, for a lot of us that grew up in church, I was immersed in a Pentecostal church experience as a teenager. I found refuge. I found genuine refuge in a Pentecostal church in a small town medium-sized town in rural New South Wales. And it did me a lot of good, and I was glad to be there and was very grateful for what they taught me, the experience, the friendship I had with other people, the community that I was a part of. Some of the older guys even just became like brothers to me in the limited way that we knew how to do that before they'd inevitably get married off at the age of 21 and move towns and all that sort of stuff. It was a situation where I was one of the few people that wasn't married off by the age of 23, 24. Usually it was before they were 21, they were all married off. I ended up moving out of that town when I was 19. And when you're a young man whose family has sort of torn apart through dysfunction, mental illness, isolation, lack of friends in community, and just generally bad choices, it's not wise to isolate yourself, especially when you're going through a terrible time. You need to force yourself to be around people some of the time, especially good people that will help to heal and mend you and spur you on to better things and give you some encouragement, and also learning how to encourage yourself. So I was this young guy and went into I had different church experience, lots of experiences of Christianity and religion growing up, but I really found refuge in this Pentecostal church, and it was a unique and beautiful time. There was a lot of things that I might share another time that happened during that time of my life. But one thing is clear to me is that there is a strong feminine and often effeminate energy and culture within church, but particularly the Pentecostal church. There's a lot of songs, there's a lot of singing, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of just experiences are based on emotion. There wasn't a tremendous amount of meditative prayer in, say, a service. I mean, we did add a lot of our, I guess, version of meditative prayer and worship into that afterwards. It would usually be after the service. These things would happen where we really would be trying to seek God and spend time with God in the way that we had learned how to perceive that and seek that. It was a beautiful time. But the actual service, the way that that sort of thing is like set up is, very flawed. There's it's a lot of, like, I'm not against singing, I love singing. But if you're a young man who's part of a broken family and you're really seeking answers and you're looking for other men to inspire you, I struggle to find men who were married or had relationships that I was genuinely inspired by. There were some people that I was very inspired by, and they did help me. But there's a lot of just pew warmers and people that are just quite passive and comfortable in this sort of routine. It's a bit like bringing farm animals into a barn. They're just on a routine. They come back after grazing all day, and then they come back in the barn and moo and carry on and shit and piss and go to sleep. There's a bit of that in church, where it's just this sort of routine thing, and men, they're bored and it's not particularly stimulating for them, and they are married and they have pretty boring lives, and they sort of just carry on, and then they occasionally have other things that they find interesting outside of this, or when they get to talk to other people in the group as well. But like, generally it's not a masculine place. So it's not a place that like cultivates strong masculine traits, and so you're often around this feminine energy. You go home, your mother, in my case my mother and my sister, it's just more feminine energy, more experience with women, and learning how to sort of wanting to appease them and speak to them. There's not, it wasn't, I was very much seeking to learn how to be a man, hold myself as a man, and I really craved inspiration, and it just wasn't a lot of that inside of church. There was a lot of broken men, there was a lot of brokenness, and there always is. But what I'm trying to say is that well, I'm already a sensitive guy as a teenager, particularly sensitive teenage male, and then I'm absorbing all of this feminine energy and feminine way of experience of church, and it doesn't attract women, and it doesn't attract women that are good for me, or that were good for me in a sense, or it makes you able to not be able to really progress. I had great female friends. And I really appreciated having a lot of time spent talking to them, and they were also sort of working out their own things as well. But in terms of like learning how to be a man that can hold a marriage and a relationship and a family and a home and a business and a job, and being able to like stare people in the eye and look at them with strength and genuine integrity and being powerful in this world, it's been a really long journey to learn things and unlearn things from those initial experiences. And yeah, that's probably one of my biggest concerns about men, and particularly boys and teenagers who don't have strong male role models and being immersed in Pentecostalism, is just all the feminine emotional energy and experience that it is. If you've ever been, or you ever go to a Pentecostal church, they'll often have a long worship time, which is wonderful in lots of ways. But men need things to work on, need something to grasp and hold, and they need more than just songs and sermonizing of modern life. And so learning these things that aren't good for actual relationships, they're not building you the strength to be able to handle yourself as a man. And man, I struggled. I really struggled, really, for a long time. I just was not a settled, peaceful individual in myself for a long time. And it did lead to significant pain and grief and guilt, tremendous internal shame, and really deep down what was a shame around being born a male, and growing up as a man, and being frustrated and angry and self-loathing at being a man that is also very sensitive. And I'm in the process of integrating that and going, it is a tremendous strength being a strong and sensitive man. And sensitive is this loaded word as well, but I mean perceptive, and can read situations, read people, read facial expression, read tone, read into things to go deeper in things. Not everyone can do that, and I actually can find it very frustrating talking to men that are very basic, and also envy them at the time, because they can just see things very matter of fact and move on, whereas I just feel compelled to dive in and analyze and learn and dig deeply into concepts, ideas in lots of things, in history, in movies, filmmaking, images. Experience of life is immersive, and so being a man that is sensitive is in many ways like a daily struggle, because I mean, it's sensitivity to even like light. Like, this took me a long time to realize that, just because I would just do things like, I would just have lights that are dim. I would always try to change lights. I hated just bright fluoro lights in houses. And I didn't realize that I was sensitive to lighting, sensitive to bright lights. Later I discovered there's a lady who did tremendous research and concluded that approximately 10% of not only the human population is highly sensitive, but also this is reflected in the animal kingdom across the world, and that it is part of our survival as a species. So it often was, you'd have a highly sensitive person in your group, tribe, community for your survival, because they would hear things, they would be perceptive of things. So sensitivity is often frowned upon in our, not frowned upon, but not appreciated in our society, in particularly Australian macho male, gotta love your football team, Australia. It's not really appreciated because like, where's the place for that? So I'm still finding my place and learning how that can be grown, but I'm convinced it is, if not the single most, or one of the single greatest strengths that I have. And that's saying something, because that's taken me a long time to get to that point where I am accepting of that and integrating that part of myself. And if you can relate to that, I just encourage you to keep going in that journey of not just self-acceptance, but integrating and seeing the value and the depth and the meaning of those parts of your personality that aren't always appreciated. Because if you don't appreciate yourself, how can you expect someone else to appreciate you? Especially a spouse, someone that you want to love you, that you want to love as well. How can you expect that person to appreciate you and see the value in you if you don't appreciate that? That's often a dynamic in relationships that we see all the time, where one person cannot see what's attractive in them that the other person is appreciating, and eventually that manifests sometime in the relationship where there's a cognitive dissonance between these two things in the relationship, where I love you, I love that part of you, and the other person is like, I can't see that, I'm rejecting that, I'm angry at that. How can you love me? How can you love that part of me that I've grown to hate so much? So just want to love you again, internet viewers, people, wherever you are, wherever you're watching, whatever you're doing right now. Give yourself a big hug and just breathe deeply and just remember that it's going to be okay, and you can make some of those things okay that you're not comfortable with. You can integrate and change and transform and grow and discover genuine spirituality and integrate positive religion and spirituality into your life. You can find God can find you, and you can love yourself, and you should love yourself. And I really believe it's your God-given right to love yourself, and you really must do it. Because by loving yourself, really loving yourself, and learning how to love yourself, and uncomfortably loving yourself, to the point of a sort of selfish devotion to how wonderful you are, and then in turn, but not living it, just seeing yourself on. You actually, love comes out of you into the world, into other people, and that you begin to love people unconditionally because you love yourself to the fullest extent that you can at that time, and that love will start to flow out to other people, and that is very attractive. Love is very attractive. Genuine love and being confident and loving yourself, and then in turn selflessly and carelessly and just throwing love into the world, into other people's arms, into other people's life, you will attract beautiful things. You will attract prosperity. People will bless you. They will give you things. They will do things for you. They just feel compelled to do things. I cannot tell you how many situations that I've had recently where people go above and beyond to give me things. Like, I will go to a shop and buy something and talk to them. I'll have a conversation with someone that was originally a complete stranger, and then they will just give me things. Now, you could say, you could do that to manipulate people and get them to do things, and people do that. But quite often I'm not. I tried to be self-aware of that, but I situations where I was not trying to get anything else from that person but have a conversation and learn about the business that they're a part of, and what, how they are going, and what they enjoy and why they enjoy it, and they're just opening up. I mean, I went to a donut shop. I don't know how often they give a bonus donut to people, but she just gave me a bonus donut. And so many times these things were happening to me where people were giving me more things, or just giving me stuff. And I wanted to sort of go and ask her, why did you feel compelled to give me another donut? Which is a bit of a weird thing. I didn't really want to make a thing out of it, and the moment didn't feel right. So I ended up asking her about what is in these donuts, these gluten-free donuts they are. What do you make them with? Because I can eat these, and I can't eat other donuts. They always make me feel a bit crap, but these taste great. And she was explaining it. So I had another conversation and learned something about food that I'm eating, and I never even got to mention about the other donut. But I did make a point of going, I ordered one donut, and you've given me a second one. Thank you. So maybe you can test that in your journey of self-love and self-discovery and self-actualization, and looking at yourself in the mirror and appreciating yourself and caring about yourself and saying good things about yourself and forgiving yourself and giving yourself tremendous grace, and see if your day changes, and smile at the guy at the petrol station, and compliment his wristwatch, and just say something genuinely kind, or make some conversation with him. Just make some other person's day a bit better, because it is a catalyst for change that, like the butterfly effect, has a flow-on effect through the day, and you might start a chain of events through your kindness and action that impact 10 or 20 other people, and then so on and so forth in a positive ripple, as opposed to more anger and more resentment, more bitterness, more rage, more selfishness. You can be a catalyst for change. And love and generosity and kindness is definitely a vibrational experience that we humans resonate with, or often do resonate with. It's a higher frequency than hate and rage and anger and bitterness and jealousy and complaining about more stuff, because everybody's got something to complain about. Saying things counter to that changes things. It has an impact that is remarkable. And so I'll leave it at that, as much to say that if you are a sensitive person, a sensitive man or woman, child, young or old, and you've struggled with that and struggled with being a sensitive person, just know that it's okay, and you have a place in the world, and it's a strength, and you can grow and utilize that strength in the world. And I pray and hope that you pray to find out where that purpose and place is, and discover more of that, because that's a beautiful thing to discover, that the part of you that you once hated and felt was a tremendous weakness is actually a tremendous strength, and you haven't even seen the full extent of that yet. And that's an exciting thing to consider, that it's not only something to be cherished, but it's actually something that grows, and you don't know where it's going to lead you or what it's going to do. So that's encouraging, and I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are, and many blessings and love. Goodbye, Internet.